Howdy, this is Lemmy with Dorman Products. Today I'm joined by Chris and Scott, and today we're going to be discussing the relationship between service technicians and their service writers. So if you've been in the automotive industry for any period of time, you know all about the very close relationship between a mechanic and his writer. And you also know that situation can get a little bit tenuous at times, but other times things work out really, really well. So today we're going to hash a few things out. So Chris up here, you've seen in some of our videos before. Chris is with product here at Dorman. Chris was a service writer for many, many years. He's also, I would say, level 10 DIY guy. What's your weekend projects this weekend?
Volkswagen shift solenoids.
That sounds terrible. We're also joined by Scott, also in product. This fellow's worked in quite a few corners of the automotive world. He has turned wrenches, he has written service. You've done some other stuff too, right?
Yeah, some high-level, corporate executive stuff.
Oh, cool. So everybody hated you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sweet. All right, guys, let's jump right into this. And I want to discuss first, what are some things that techs do that irritate service writers?
So the first thing that pops into my mind is the tech that complains about not getting the gravy work. And it's always the same guy, right? It's the guy that's been out of school for 6 months and he left the drain plug loose on the last car he worked on. And he's complaining that the senior tech's getting all the gravy work.
Resetting the oil maintenance light and putting the lube sticker up in the windshield. I mean, for the perception of the customer at the end of the day, if those two things are not done, the oil change didn't happen, right? You could have changed the oil and filter, put new oil in it. But if the maintenance light is still screaming when they pick up the car, sorry, you didn't change my oil and you charged me for it.
In Pennsylvania, we have state inspection and emission stickers that go on the windshield. And the technician has to scrape that sticker off with a razor knife. And half the time there was pieces of inspection sticker all over the dash.
Remnants. Looks like a mouse got in there. Another one that kind of rubs me the wrong way, and it depends on the shop setup, but if you have a real nice waiting room and there is one tech who he's too good to use the bathroom in the back, no, you're gonna come up there with your, that's fine, but you're gonna come up there with your greasy hands and leave them all over the sink. So I gotta go in there and basically do a whole bathroom clean because you just took the last 4 vehicles, residue that you worked on and left it in my sink. That's not what I want the customer wandering on into.
You mean to tell me that office bathroom is not mine?
It could be if you would wipe it up when you're done. It's not, or that somehow I go into the bathroom as a service writer, right? And I find a stack of auto parts, a bunch of air filters. Oh yeah, we couldn't fit those in the back. Well, you can't use the bathroom as a storage facility. I got customers that gotta come in here. What about dirty shop? The tech, I'm flat rate, I don't get paid to sweep. Well, that's great, but this place is a pigsty and I have to bring customers back here. Somebody's got to sweep and I'm busy right now and you're leaning on your toolbox.
Yeah, somebody's gonna break an ankle in here.
One of the things that would really get me, going as a service writer was when a tech would make a basic mistake, and oftentimes this was a lube or tire tech, right? Leaving a drain plug loose, to your point earlier, or the double gasket of the oil filter, or God help us, a wheel off situation. Guys, this is blocking and tackling, right? If you misdiag some weird electrical gremlin that's intermittent, hey, I can sell that to a customer. When Mrs. Jones's wheel is 60 feet away from her vehicle on the highway, that is very difficult for me to explain. Scott, you dealt with tires for a long time. How did you guys deal with wheel offs?
Empathy, sympathy.
Lots of free stuff.
Lots of free stuff. Whatever
changes
it took.
for the life
whatever
of the vehicle.
It took. But on the opposite side of that, I can say that what fixed a lot of those issues, no matter what the level of the technician was implementing process. Everything from the cleaning procedure to the installation procedure to the torquing procedure, and making sure that it was executed, and that pretty much just got rid of the failure.
Okay, we had a pretty good roast sesh there on the service techs. Let's spin it around. What are some things that writers do that just stand service technicians hair on end?
I'd like to discuss what they don't do that make a huge difference, right? When they don't put the wheel lock in the pouch when the car has a wheel lock, it costs me more time as a technician.
Let's say you don't have time to do that, right? You're moving along pretty quickly. How about you just ask the customer where it might be, right? I'm gonna check the glove box, I'm gonna check the center console, and I'm probably gonna check out by the spare. If I don't find that stuff as a technician, dude, the next thing you need to do is lift up a phone to call your customer, because that's the end of where I might ever think to look.
Yeah, I think every time it's always the debate of where do we find this wheel lock? And There's been memes going around for a while of the wheel lock sitting in the cup holder and it's the technician's best day ever. Like, yeah, that's real. Totally guilty of not helping my techs out with that.
A similar scenario, and Scott, I'm gonna let you handle this one because you hail from the tire world. How about the flat tire? Customer states slow leak.
Which one?
Why? Why can I never get a service writer to ask, right? If it's flat, okay, yeah, that's a little obvious. If it rolled in with a busted shoe, I can figure that out. But I guess I'm just supposed to take out my soapy water bottle and scrub all these tires, make sure they're bright and shiny, find that leak. How about the writer who has no concept of where a no crank, no start should go?
A towed-in vehicle?
That's the one.
Yeah.
You mean the lot next door isn't good enough?
They can't tell the tow truck driver to put it far enough away. Like, all the techs have nothing better to do to join me to roll this thing into the bay. We're always pushing uphill, and it's got to be, a mile away. You guys are not shy about stepping into a service bay, but I know you guys worked with some people too who they did not want to smudge the khakis, right? They didn't even want to step into the service bay. I know as a tech that was something that bothered me. How have you guys dealt with that?
Yeah, from a tech perspective, at the end of the day, we know that the writers are bringing all this work in to get all this work done. And I think the best leaders that are out there are the ones that will get dirty and jump in and dive in with you, right? So from a tech perspective, there's that relationship building or destroying at the same time, right? Because if you're not gonna jump in and get dirty with me, what are we doing here? Now I gotta stay late and get this done? No, let's get this done together.
Right.
That's a good point. So I think there's a certain language too that needs to be understood between a tech and a writer, right? Like, technicians use certain descriptions and certain words for certain things that if you don't know your way around a car, the writer might not understand. It'd be very difficult to either sell work or maintain some sort of communication with your customer. So it's important, I think, for a writer to get back in the shop, know what they're looking at, talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah, and even if it's as simple as grabbing the parts or taking the air out of the tire or staging parts or whatever it may be, something to assist the process.
I want to shift gears into something else too that kind of I found difficult when I was a tech is a writer who was afraid to put a customer in a car with me, right? Car's making a weird noise and I can't duplicate it. How about we do this? Ask the customer, can you make the car do it? Sure, I can totally do it. Great. Could you schedule a little ride along here?
Yeah.
If the person's standing in front of you, throw me in the car.
I wouldn't put a customer in the car with you.
That's probably
maybe someone else.
Actually, you may have a salient point here. No, but I mean, a lot of times when a customer could make an intermittent problem happen, or if it's something that I can't reproduce, like, please see if they will. I'm not going to say anything uncouth, right? I'm just trying to find the problem here. But if we have somebody who knows how to make the car misbehave, please, by all means, put me in the car with them.
Yeah, I think to your point, that's pretty important. So that is another thing that ties back into why the service writer needs to kind of know a little bit around a car, because then he can jump in the car, she can jump in the car and go for a ride and be able to translate that back to the technician if they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, and why this is all valuable, because we shouldn't have service writers dying at the counter, right?
Writers who die at the counter are really setting techs up and themselves up for failure, right? So, customer comes in, I have a check-in, like, it could just be a loose gas cap. Okay, yeah, it could also be a bucket full of money rolling around the trunk. That's not the problem, I can guarantee that. So no matter what comes next, doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter how good the diag is, what the customer heard is, all this guy is gonna do is tighten my fuel cap and off to the races we go, and now wonders why it costs $500 to turn off his check engine light. Writers who both do that, who kind of tease this carrot of an easy repair and also happen to not understand all of the things that could go into a complex diagnosis, I think really sell their mechanics short, and I think that really breeds animosity. And I know it did, at least in my case.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think you got to build expectations too. Like, yeah, it could be a gas cap, but it could also be a bad injector.
What are some good habits you guys have seen, whether it's on the mechanic side or whether it's on the writer side or maybe even management? Like, what are some habits or some processes you've seen put in place that work out well, that people should be practicing?
Wash your hands before you test drive the car.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. One of the things I would say, this is gonna sound very basic, but especially if you've wronged a tech if you're a service writer, or if you've wronged a service writer if you're a tech, hey, the next day you can bring in donuts or grab some pizzas, right? Doesn't hurt to take care of the people you work with.
Yeah, food goes a long way for technicians.
Right. I mean,
sure.
exactly. It's just even a little bit of penance there, right? That's that's pretty nice. Anybody who's making an effort, right? Even if it's not happening perfectly the way you wanted it to happen, recognize the efforts of your colleague.
If you have a good team and you focus on that team piece and that communication.
Communication between tech and service writer, right? The tech needs to adequately explain problems to a service writer needs to understand they need to adequately explain what's going on to a customer instead of just, I guess, promising a customer or saying, yes, we can do a thing that that can't be done. That communication really is, I think, a big part of that process. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. Be sure you throw some comments in there. What irritates you as a tech or a writer, or what processes have you implemented at your shop that tend to work out well? Be sure to check out some of the other cool content we're rolling out at Shop Press, all about turning wrenches. For Chris and for Scott, I'm Lem for Dorman Products. We're out of here.